I'm not at all a travel writer in the sense that I'm a lazy traveler. Wherever I go, and I travel constantly, I'm always on the move. But I meet people, I meet writers, I take in the landscape, I love the landscape, but I don't put on my walking shoes, and I'm not a museum person, and I like to get things obliquely through the filters of other people's understandings. This is one of my favorite books. It's an anthology I have edited. It's called Traveling In, Traveling Out, and it's a patchwork of stories by some of the most extraordinary writers and their unexpected journeys. So let me read a bit from the beginning of the book. I say, as a disclaimer, this is not a travel book in the conventional sense. There are few voyages of discovery to be made in our times. The analytical and adjectival traditions of examining so-called foreign cultures has been diluted by the all-knowing interconnectedness of our age. Google Maps has brought the world into our backyard. It's a smaller world with enforced cosmopolitanism and cheek-by-jowl multiculturalism, changing the way we think about faraway peoples and places. The essays in this anthology are more in the nature of everyday explorations and encounters, as also cultural mappings, musings, and meditations on the nature of travel. So that's what I say in the introduction. And then let me take you to the particular piece which I wrote for this. It's called Armchair Travels. And I say, home for me remains the tourist town of Nainital, where some part of me continues to live even though I don't visit it much anymore. In the course of many, many summers, I haven't ever managed to climb up either to Tiffin Top, which is 2,619 meters, or to China Peak, 2,278 meters. Yet, I have walked the high Himalayas with Nain Singh Rawat, whose journals I encountered through a set of serendipitous accidents. I had to travel back through time for this journey, return to 1863, when knowledge of the Himalayan terrain was restricted to either blanks or based on travelers' tales and vague pictorial Chinese maps. That was the year when Colonel Walker, the superintendent of the great trigonometrical survey, recruited Nain Singh, then 30 years old, and his cousin Mani Singh, who was a little older. Nain Singh Rawat was born in a Pandit family in 1830. They lived in the village of Milam in the Johar Valley, at the foot of the Milam Glacier, in the shadow of Nanda Devi in the high reaches of the central Himalayas. This Kumaoni lad was an intrepid adventurer and natural explorer. Instructed by his colonial masters to travel as a simple pilgrim, he set out to map mountains, trace the course of rivers, and unravel the mysteries of uncharted cartographies. The trigonometrical survey equipped him with a sextant, a compass, and a thermometer, which was to be placed in boiling water to determine the heights. To disguise the true purpose of his travels, Nain Singh was also given a Tibetan prayer wheel and a rosary with only 100 beads, as against the ritual 108. Every 10th bead was larger than the others. Chanting the Buddhist prayer, Om Mani Padme Hum, the Pandit would turn the prayer wheel with pious concentration and then drop a bead with every 100 steps. Nain Singh had been drilled by a sergeant major using a pace stick to take steps of a fixed and certain length, maintaining a constant measured pace regardless of whether he was treading uphill, downhill, or on level ground. 100 beads of his cunningly modified Buddhist rosary represented 10,000 steps. Each step was 3.5 inches, and a mile was composed of 2,000 steps. The Pandit's survey notes, written out in secret on long strips of paper, were concealed in the drum of the prayer wheel. Mercury, used for measuring atmospheric pressure and calculating altitude, was hidden in cowrie shells to be poured as required into the begging bowl he carried as part of his spy explorer's kit. Pandit Nain Singh's village of Milam, in one of the remotest parts of Kumaon, was habitable for only a few months, from June to October. He was acclimatized to the Himalayan heights, accustomed to the rough terrain. He knew the stars and constellations and could navigate the dark Himalayan nights with the brilliant starlight sky as his guide. But that was not enough to explain his story of how and why he kept walking.